My name is Mr. Steve.
Welcome to Storytime.
I'm a storyteller. Hello, everybody! It's me, Mr. Steve, and today we have another story time, but today is a very special one. So today was cousin Jaden's birthday. He's been on the channel a bunch of times before. He's my nephew, so my children's cousin, Jaden. So it was cousin Jaden's birthday today. Last year, I did a special story time with him in his room. It was pretty good. And this year, we didn't do a story time in his room, but I was in his room for a little bit, and I noticed that he had a nice hardcover copy of a book, which I loved when I was a kid, and I asked him if I could borrow it, and he said yes. So today's story time is thanks to cousin Jaden. Thank you, Jaden, for letting me borrow this wonderful book. It's a classic. I am excited to bring it to you, and it's right here. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Classic, adorable book by Ron and Judy Barrett. Did you see the movie? The movie takes the general idea of, hey, there's a town called Chew and Swallow, and it's raining food. But beyond that, it completely goes on its own direction. But I really like the movie and the sequel. I really like the both of those. I remember as a kid just staring and staring at these very realistic illustrations for hours as a child. I loved the pictures in this book. Someone went to the Charlie Bucket's Grandpa Joe School of Dressing Like a Grandfather. So that's exciting. We were all sitting around the big kitchen table. It was Saturday morning, pancake morning. Mom was squeezing oranges for juice. Hey, Orange, you better give me juice, you hear me? Henry and I were betting on how many pancakes we each could eat. And Grandpa was doing the flipping. Oh, look at this. They're eating Aunt Jim's pancake mix. Very progressive book. Wow. Seconds later, something flew through the air, headed towards the kitchen ceiling, and landed right on Henry. What happened was Grandpa got tripped. And let me tell you why Grandpa got tripped. They have a cat that can fly. This is why you don't get a cat from the planet Krypton. Look at how distraught that child is. Child's going to have pancake-related nightmares. After realizing that the flying object was only a pancake, we all laughed, even Grandpa. Breakfast continued quite uneventually. All the other pancakes landed in the pan, and all of them were eaten, even the one that landed on Henry. Ew, gross. It has Henry hair in it. That night, touched off by the pancake incident at breakfast, Grandpa told us the best tall-tale bedtime story he'd ever told. Across an ocean, over lots of huge bumpy mountains, across 3 hot deserts and 1 smaller ocean, there lay the tiny town of Chew and Swallow. It's chew and swallow, but all said as one word, so the tiny town of Chew and Swallow. In most ways, it was very much like any other tiny town. It had a main street lined with stores, houses with trees and gardens around them. Oh, it looks like the town of Seven Oaks from 7 Habits of Highly Effective Kids, which we're reading in Raising Little Leaders right now, which is a series that I do. I like the fact that they have an old-timey movie theater. They're showing food-themed films. So breakfast at Tiffany's, picnic, dinner at 8, and duck soup. Duck soup being a Marx Brothers movie. Marx Brothers are amazing. There's a schoolhouse, there's 300 people, and some assorted cats and dogs. Looks very nice. But there were no food stores in the town of Chew and Swallow. They didn't need any. The sky supplied all the food they could possibly want. The only thing that was really different about Chew and Swallow was its weather. The weather came 3 times a day at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Everything that everyone ate came from the sky. Whatever the weather served, that was what they ate. But it never rained rain, it never snowed snow, and it never blew just wind. It rained things like soup and juice. Hot? Would it rain hot soup? That'd burn you. I eat soup hot. You know? Is it cold hamburgers? I'm interested in the temperature of the food that is raining from the sky. I don't want a cold hamburger, and I don't want a lukewarm hamburger. I want a hot hamburger. But I don't think this food falls hot. So maybe there's not restaurants, maybe there's just reheating restaurants. It rained things like soup and juice, it snowed mashed potatoes and green peas, and sometimes the wind blew in storms of hamburgers. Look at that beautiful hamburger storm there. Blown away by that. My hair is so long, I keep feeling hair in my mouth. I think even when there isn't hair in my mouth. Phantom hair. There's so much here. The people could watch the weather report on television in the morning, and they would even hear a prediction for the next day's food. When the townspeople went outside, they carried their plates, cups, glasses, forks, spoons, knives, and napkins with them. That way, they would always be prepared for any kind of weather. So there's a taxi cab driver picking up pancakes that are raining, but also, you're a taxi cab driver? There are 300 people in the town of Chew and Swallow. You need to be a taxi driver in a bigger town, is what I'm saying to you, ma'am. If there was any leftovers, and there usually were, the people took them home and put them in their refrigerator in case they got hungry between meals. The menu varied. By the time they woke up in the morning, breakfast was coming down. After a brief shower of orange juice, low clouds of sunny side-up eggs moved in, followed by pieces of toast. I'm sorry, but my inner OCD is freaked out by the idea of wet eggs and jelly raining from the sky. Ew! Ew! Yuck! Ew! Just imagine wet eggs falling on you. Ugh! That's nightmarish. I'm getting chills. I'm getting chills just thinking about that. I'm getting goose pimples just thinking about that. Butter and jelly sprinkled down for the toast? You mean it's raining butter and jelly? Ugh. And most of the time it rained milk afterwards. But imagine the streets filled with milk at 8 a.m. from the rain of milk. Imagine when it gets hot around noon, how those streets smell. I know that I'm an adult and I shouldn't be thinking of this rationally, but ew. For lunch one day, frankfurters, already in their rolls, blew in from the northwest at about 5 miles an hour. There were mustard clouds nearby. So it's raining mustard? Oh. Then the wind shifted to the east and brought in baked beans. Ew. A drizzle of soda finished off the meal. Oh, hey, that looks just like me. The kid is dressed like Mr. Steve. Dinner one night consisted of lamb chops becoming heavy at times with occasional ketchup. Period of peas and baked potatoes were followed by a gradual clearing with a wonderful jello setting in the west. The sanitation department of Chew and Swallow had a rather unusual job for a sanitation department. It had to remove the food that fell on the houses and sidewalks and lawns. The workers cleaned things up after every meal and fed all the dogs and cats. Then they emptied some of it into the surrounding oceans for the fish and turtles and whales to eat. You mean to tell me that you're feeding baked beans to dolphins? Do you think that this is okay? Anyway, the rest of the food was put back into the earth so that the soil would be richer for people's flower gardens. Okay. Life for the townspeople was delicious until the weather took a turn for the worst. Oh, look, there's a spaghetti flood. Spaghetti ties up town. Yeah, global warming. Global food warming. One day there was nothing but gorgonzola cheese all day long. Nothing but stinky cheese. The next day there was only broccoli, all overcooked. And the next day there were Brussels sprouts and peanut butter with mayonnaise. Ooh, I popped my neck. Oh, another day there was a pea soup fog. No one could see where they were going, and they could barely find the rest of the meal. They got stuck in the fog. Oh no, look, Charlton Heston is lost in the pea soup fog. The food was getting larger and larger, and so were the portions. The people were getting frightened. Violent storms blew up frequently. Awful things were happening. It's the global warming, is what that is. One Tuesday, there was a hurricane of bread and rolls all day long and into the night. There were soft rolls and hard rolls, some with seeds and some without. There was white bread and rye with whole wheat toast. Most of it was larger than they had ever seen bread and rolls before. It was a terrible day. Everyone had to stay indoors. Roofs were damaged, and the sanitation department was beside itself. The meals took the workers 4 days to clean up, and the sea was full of floating rolls. To help out, the people piled up as much bread as they could in their backyards. The birds picked at it a bit, but it just stayed there and got staler and staler. There was a storm of pancakes one morning and a downpour of maple syrup that nearly flooded the town. A huge pancake covered the school. No one could get it off because of its weight, so they had to close the school. I bet the kids were excited. Lunch one day brought 15-inch drifts of cream cheese and jelly sandwiches. Everyone ate themselves sick, and the day ended with a stomachache. I think that is Spanish. Oh, wait, stomachache. I see it now. It's stomachache. Okay. There was an awful salt and pepper wind, accompanied by an even worse tomato tornado. Okay, band name. Called it. I called it. Hello, we are Tomato Tornado. 1, 2, 3, 4. People were sneezing themselves silly and running to avoid the tomatoes. Attack of the killer tomatoes! Attack of the killer tomatoes! That is an actual movie, and it is wonderful. The town was a mess. There were seeds and pulp everywhere. Oh, this is my favorite part. This is my favorite part. Just look at the food storm here. The pictures are just so ultra-realistic. It is amazing. There's a sequel to this. We'll talk about it at the end. The sanitation department gave up. The job was too big. Everyone feared for their lives. They couldn't go outside most of the time. Many houses had been badly damaged by giant meatballs. Stores were boarded up, and there was no more school for the children. Psh! Same. That guy's stuck in a noodle. Right there. This woman is running from a donut avalanche, I guess. This dog is stuck in pizza. So a decision was made to abandon the town of Chew and Swallow. It was a matter of survival. People are trying to drive away there in their cars, but they can't because of the ice cream. So they're driving. Oh no, they can't get out anymore because of the ice cream. So they're stuck. Oh no! The people glued together the giant pieces of stale bread sandwich style with peanut butter, took the absolute necessities with them, and set sail on their rafts for a new land. You can see a shark there eating bread. Hope you're not gluten intolerant, shark. After being afloat for a week, they finally reached a small coastal town, which welcomed them. Oh no, I hope this isn't a Stephen King coastal town. Next thing you know, there's clowns in the sewers, and oh man, we picked the wrong coastal town. They reached a small coastal town which welcomed them. The bread had held up surprisingly well enough for them to build temporary houses for themselves out of it. The children began school again, and the adults all tried to find places for themselves in this new land. The biggest change they had to make was getting used to buying food at a supermarket. What? They found it odd that food was kept on shelves, packaged in boxes, cans, and bottles. Meat that had to be cooked was kept in large refrigerators. Nothing came down from the sky except rain and snow. Or maybe it's pronounced snow. Either way, you can't eat it. Well, you can, but it doesn't taste like anything. The clouds above their heads were not made of fried eggs, and no one ever got hit by a hamburger again. Until Steve came along and just started chucking them. Hamburger fight. And nobody dared go back to the town of Chew and Swallow to find out what happened to it. They were too afraid. There's a sequel to this, where an expedition team goes back to the town of Chew and Swallow, and they find that there's organizations of people from all over the world that have come to Chew and Swallow, and they're gathering up all of the food, and they're giving it to all of the starving people of the planet to end hunger, so that no one will be hungry ever again. It's a very sweet sort of caring message to people about stopping hunger, and it's really sweet. It's a cute book. It's not as good as this one, but it's still cute. The next morning, we woke up to see snow falling out. Oh, wait. Snow. Sorry. The next morning, we woke up to see snow falling outside our window. We ran downstairs for breakfast and ate it a little faster than usual so we could go sledding with Grandpa. It's funny, but even as we were sliding down the hill, we thought we saw a giant pat of butter at the top, and we could almost smell mashed potatoes. Maybe the town of Chew and Swallow is real. Or maybe they're having a stroke. Either way, maybe they should consult a doctor. And that's the end. Or is it? Da-da-da! No, it totally is. And that's the end of that story. Yay! I love this book. Loved it since I was a kid. It's a wonderful book. It's a bit long, but it's a great book, and I love it so much. And I hope you enjoyed that. And this story time goes out to Cousin Jaden. Hey, happy 8th birthday, Jaden. Be sure and like and subscribe and all of those things I'm supposed to say because I'm a guy on YouTube. We'll see you later, guys. Bye. Everything's fine.